Alrighty guys, so I'm just gonna quickly pick up the new what do you call it, recollection card. Yeah, I've decided that I need to get it. It's by far one of the top tier Taijutsu recollection cards that is currently in the game. Yeah, who would have thought? Marky's banner coming in with the heat, not only just character wise but also recollection card wise. So fair play to the developers. Plus this is a nice little setup. This recollection card is going to be beautiful for MEI. So yeah, that's one of the other big reasons why I want it right now, and that is the character that we are going to be talking about, because this is the final character before we get into the Golden Week, and then that will lead into the half-year anniversary. It is going to be more in line of a green DPS, and we do have a little bit of a foundation on how this character is looking. Obviously we won't know officially up until MEI actually drops on Monday. However, she is looking very, very promising, and not just in the perspective to say that, you know, she's one of the good red DPS in terms of like Toji and Yuta, but there could be more priority for her in terms of bosses and whatnot in certain situations, and potentially also in point scoring situations, purely because it's in a similar fashion to how Maki works, where self-buffing is a thing. Alright, so obviously within the live stream we did get a little bit of glimpse of MEI, of course, so just kind of taking a look at that. But the character itself is looking, in my eyes, pretty promising. At first, when I initially saw the live stream and obviously watching gameplay, I'm just like, where is the sell point for this character? I'm not really seeing anything that kind of persuasive of like, do I go for her, or should I just still rely on Toji, still rely on Yuta, since those are like the two main red DPS characters? I mean, you still can, to be fair, they're still absolutely amazing, of course, but the thing about MEI right now, which is looking very, very good, is that she's a bit of a self-buffer. That is right. I mean, she can also provide that single debuff, of course. But there are key things about her that could very well make her a formidable DPS character for mainly for the red one, to be fair. As an and I guess in an overall team too, you can't go wrong with that. But just kind of break it down on how promising she's actually looking. From the little information that we know, she is looking to be a very interesting, decent DPS type character. So obviously her passive, which we heard of, when she drops below the 70% mark, so that's a bit of a stipulation. She does give herself, I believe it's physical and Jujutsu damage up. Now, from what I'm hearing, those are perma buffs. So I'm curious to see on what the percentage play on those will be. So that might be something to take note of on making it so that she can hopefully get tagged a lot sooner, because if that is something, well, if the percentage play on those buffs are pretty high, I don't know, like 20-30%, yeah, I kind of want to get that going ASAP. So 70%, thankfully 70%, nothing lower than that, so not too bad of an issue there. Now, not only that, but she also gives herself a recovery of the cursed energy for 4 turns. So it's not permanent, unfortunately. If it was, that would have been an absolute godsend. But you've got 4 turns to make good use of having the consistency of her skill at your disposal, because she herself, within her passive, is a bit of a cursed energy generator, which is fantastic. That's exactly what you want for a DPS character, especially for a character that has buffs and whatnot. So that is pretty nice for that to be her passive. Again, the only bummer is the whole HP stipulation, but 70% is not a bad thing. So that is a pretty effective passive if you kind of really look at it, right? Because again, if you're looking at it in a long-term perspective, or even in a mid-term perspective of the fight itself, that passive can help you out during that time, depending on how long the game is, of course. So that is actually a fairly good passive to have, especially for a DPS character. Furthermore, her skill 2, as we know of, will cost you 15 cursed energy, of course, and then from that, of course, that is when you'll get your whole buffing. So again, coming back to being a self-buffer, this is where she can kind of garner the increase of DPS damage, and then of course the bonus is not only does she buff herself, but she also has it so that the enemy does take damage, or increase damage, of course, which will benefit the whole team, of course. So works in both ways. Can't go wrong having that as a buffer and a debuffer for MEI, of course. So again, in a situation where you're targeting a single enemy, in a situation where, let's talk about score attacks, you've got coverage on both ends. So that's actually pretty fantastic. So technically speaking, while the enemy is guarded up, you can still buff yourself when you break them, and sometimes the debuff is allowed through a score attack, let's say. Yeah, you can kind of pile that on whilst having the buff herself being high up there, because she can stack that, of course. So that's going to be pretty nice. So in a situation like that, it does make her up there of being a fantastic DPS character, of course. And then, of course, from that, she does have AoE coverage through her third skill, which is very nice. The ultimate itself was very questionable at first, because obviously it is a 2-hitter. It does provide 2 multipliers, and for the most part, MEI's kit is taijutsu, hence why, as you saw at the very beginning of the video, I catered to getting the newest taijutsu recollection card, purely because it gives me crit, as well as 85 once I get to LB3, of course. So that's kind of what I want to cater to, high on the DPS side of things. But through her ultimate, of course, obviously she does the initial hit herself, which is taijutsu. I thought the crow was going to be the Jujtsu play, but I've been hearing that it's a double physical. Like, her ultimate is just full on physical. So that's going to be interesting to see. If the crow itself has some form of Jujutsu damage increase, because it is doing the most damage right now, as you saw through the live stream, then I'm curious to see if there's going to be some player run room on if we can kind of provide more damage for the crow itself, which is going to be very awkward, because it's like you're buffing up one skill. So I'm eager to see on if that is the case, or if both are going to be catering to physical. And if that is the case, I kind of want to see on what the multiplier play is for MEI's first strike to then that crow coming in, because that crow damage looks to be pretty disgusting, if you ask me. I reckon we're going to be getting some insane numbers from that self buffer to do that much damage, especially with what we're seeing on live stream. I feel like we're not seeing the true potential of her. Yeah, that's going to be pretty interesting to see, of course. And then, of course, well, for the most part, that's basically it. But yeah, MEI is in a very great spot to look at the team comp that she has at her disposal, aka the Infinite Void Gojo, Yaga. You've got Nanami in place. You've got, you know, Maki in place. You know, so like when it comes to the red team, they are stacked in support. So like in terms of, well, Maki right there, of course, in terms of MEI coming in and being that self buffer to cater more to being able to do more damage through her kit alone, whilst having that damage output. Yeah, it is looking to be something very nice for the red units overall. Now, again, do I find her as a chase character with where things are at? I mean, it just, I think it comes down to on the characters now. I think, because I can quite easily just sit here and be like, you don't need her. Toji's still a thing. Yuta's got his buff. He's crazy, and it's just like, we get it. It's a given. I think it just comes down to whether or not if you want the character, because I do think MEI on paper right now, with the little that we know, I say little, we know a good chunk of her kit. She is coming across as a very interesting character. I know that the 70% might be a little bit of a turner for certain people, which again I do understand. Health stipulations can always be an absolute bummer for some people, but she is coming across and sounding like a pretty decent character for score attacks and single type bosses. So yeah, if you're a fan, go for it. I think she's going to be a fantastic DPS. But again, best to wait that out if you want to see what she's cooking up, and then kind of go from there. Keep in mind, this is before the pre-half anniversary, so God knows what they've got in store for us for Golden Week. Global, I mean, yeah, if you guys can really decide. I mean, to be fair, saying that, I feel like most people will skip her whilst finding out what's happening during Golden Week and half year anniversary. So yeah, I think for Global it might be a bit of a skip, if I'm being honest. For JP right now, it's heat. I'm excited. But that's kind of what we're looking at, and that's kind of like on how she's looking. So pretty nice, sweet DPS character. Definitely people are going to be diving in. It's a new character. A very well loved character. So that alone, I think, is going to be just kind of the push to be like, yeah, we're gonna pull for her. So there's that. And who knows? She might, with all the buffing that she can do, outbeat the boys. We'll have to wait and see. See what we can buff up, see what we can stack up, and see what the end result will be.